Evening. We'll call the November council meeting to order. First item on the agenda, or second item on the agenda is the roll call. Looks like we're missing Alderperson Rayom. It's a button here. Perfect. Excellent. We've got 6 of our 8 this evening. Welcome to those that are here this evening and those that are joining from home, whether watching it on live stream or on TV. Next item on the agenda is if we invite you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a silent prayer in lieu of invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve and place on file.
I have a question.
Okay. Alderperson Kellogg.
On page 4 of 13, the Public Works Committee talked about number 5 at David Ramsden Construction, and then also the change to maximum driveways widths. I mentioned that was probably two items in one, and that maybe we should just talk about the first one and vote on that.
So, we'll handle that. That was a standing council report on Public Works, correct? This is the previous minutes. Okay, so this was not an item from November, okay?
And the Public Works Committee is planning on looking at the second one where the maximum driveway width for duplexes would be from 36 to 40 feet at our next meeting. So I don't know if you keep it together like this or you just have the first part.
I guess I'm maybe not understanding. So you're saying the number 5 has 2 items in it when the committee actually had 1 item? I mean, it was 2 separate items, I'm sorry. On the committee report?
The committee report had 2, and I suggested that they have 1, just that first one. This person is requesting a variance, and that should be, in my mind, should be 1.
A separate item.
And then another item that would come forth would be the second one with duplexes.
Okay. So they did not separate the 2 is what you're saying?
Right.
It wasn't separated at the meeting, if I can step in. And so I understand what Scott's saying, which is at the last meeting, this is exactly the way it was presented.
Right.
But Scott's suggestion was there's 2 items in that 1 item. And I think the way it was ultimately resolved is that second piece was supposed to go back to committee,
Right.
correct? Okay.
Correct. And so I've got the referral at the end on page 13 is that the request by Alderperson Kellogg that the committee change the maximum driveway width to 39 to 40 foot wide. So it would have been handled in that request, or are you requesting on the variance as well?
No, I'm requesting that this pass for this individual.
Okay.
And then the Public Works brings forth, unless we want to pass it now and we don't
And
have
that's
to bring
what-
it forth later.
And so the referral for a future Public Works Committee meeting that was communicated at the end of the last council meeting was what I just read, the 39 to 40 foot
Right.
maximum driveway width. Is that
Right.
correct then? To
Yeah,
bring
we're
that
hoping-
item back? to
Yeah,
the-
yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that answers the question.
Right.
Okay, excellent. Any further discussion? I didn't have a second, I don't think. I had a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the minutes of the previous meeting? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Next item on the agenda is the explanation of visitor speaking procedure here tonight. For those wishing to address the body, you may do so on an agenda item, in which you'll have 5 minutes to do so, and make sure that you hit the push button on the microphone after you're acknowledged by a council member to do so, so you're able to be picked up on TV here this evening. The next item is number 6, is the recognition of local area Cub Scouts from Weeblos 2, Den Pack 171, and Boy Scouts from Troop 105. for work done with the Wood County Land Conservation Department with stormwater stenciling to catch basins around First English Lutheran Church. And I would invite, I didn't ask anybody earlier, but I'd invite anybody that would wish to speak on their item, and maybe Tracy or somebody wants to do that. Otherwise, we can just move forward with the acknowledgement as well. You want to speak? Is it on the item of the recognition of the Cub Scouts? Okay, great. So when that item comes forward, we'll go ahead and recognize. Okay. Is there something in particular, do you want to just maybe give us a one sentence about what it's about? The leaf pickup, okay. So that isn't on the agenda, so we'll have to make sure that that gets back to a committee in the form of a referral. So if you want to connect with the city clerk following the meeting, or connect with an alderperson, and then that referral can get back to an agenda. Unfortunately, not because it's not on the agenda. Yeah. Jim, do you want to go ahead and speak with him? Yeah, Jim will, Public Works Superintendent will speak to you off to the side if you don't mind on that, since it's not on the agenda. Thank you. Okay, anybody wishing to speak on the recognition? Okay. So these two PACs had participated in a project that the Wood County Land Conservation Department had done to raise awareness about the stormwater stenciling that you may have seen around town in the district in Scott Kellogg's district, near the library and First English Lutheran Church. And so they came to the city originally with a request to Public Works. This body approved that request for these PACs to go around and stencil to raise awareness that what's poured down the drains goes into the river. And so we've got two recognitions tonight, both the Cub Scout PAC 171, Webelos 2, for work done with the Wood County Land Conservation Department on stormwater stenciling to catch basins around First English Lutheran Church. So if they'd like, I'd invite that troop to come forward. We can get a quick photo and send you on your way. But want to thank you for, in a very public way, drawing attention to what is our best resource, and that is our river that runs through the middle of the city. So thank you for your work, and we'll invite you forward, and you can grab your photo and be on your way, and then we'll do the second group right away. Thank you all for your work and getting involved in your community now. So you're 18 to finally vote, you're getting involved now. So thank you for your work, and hopefully this will be the first of many projects in the city. So thank you. Oh, okay. All right, so does the 105 want to come forward? Say next. Forward. Corner. Thank you again for your work and thanks for being here this evening. All righty? Thanks very much. Take care. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 7, is the public hearing on the 2014 city budget, in which I would open the public hearing. All right, anyone wishing to address the body for or against the city budget? Alderperson Kirkpatrick?
Thank you. Well, as everyone knows, we've spent probably four or five different meetings here going through the city budget through Finance Committee. It was a slightly different process than the last few years that I've been involved with it. I think it's been a little bit more smooth, streamlined, effective process than it has been in the past. I appreciated the new style layout that you have proposed and that you have carried forward here. And I think that I don't want to speak for everybody else and put words in everybody else's mouth, but I believe that it seems evident to me, at least, that the department heads have expressed an appreciation for this style layout, as well as it gives them an opportunity to put some of the notes in there that we would normally ask questions about right within the body of the document. So that can be less time consuming on them, because a lot of times we got our questions answered here without having to call special meetings of so many different departments. As far as the document itself goes, I think that we have, in finance, have brought forward a respectable document here that will serve the community well. We have been presented with a document that does not raise city tax rates. And I know the mayor, you wanted to speak about assessed value, tax levying, things of that nature as well on it. With all that said, with the new directives that you have put in here, some of the different initiatives that you want to put in, expenditures, as well as new positions going forward here to help the city evaluate how we actually do business in the 21st century. I think some of those initiatives will help to serve that purpose, and I look forward to seeing those brought to fruition, to implementation here over the coming months and years. Gather as much that I speak in favor of this document, bringing it out of the committee level, and hope that everyone has had a good chance to review it, and that you find it acceptable in your eyes as well. Thank you.
Alderperson Young?
Well, mainly a big ditto, but I'd also like to express my appreciation to all the department heads who, put forward accurate and thoughtful numbers. That was greatly appreciated by the committee. And Andrew's right. We didn't feel the need to drag everybody before us this year because we had a document that accurately addressed concerns, both up and down for us. But I would encourage you, Mayor, to talk a little bit about the assessed value and the positions, because those were the only two questions that I really had from constituents.
Further questions or comments? Alderperson Nash?
Thank you. I'm assuming you're going to speak to the initiatives that you've put into this document, and as with last year, I will probably vote no on the budget, just for principle on the principle. And we do business different now, evidently. I don't appreciate it. There are positions in there that we will be talking about in the HR report tonight that are held over, and I don't understand how we can go ahead and approve a document that we don't know and talk about and be out there and say it's great when we don't know what's going to happen. We had plenty of time to discuss these issues, but as with last year, we put the cart ahead of the horse again, with no raises for in the budget, which obviously we knew were there. So I don't really have anything to say about it other than I'm not going to vote for the budget again this year, and I will let you speak.
Any other questions from alderpersons? Comments? Alderperson Hokamp?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. When you start talking about the budget and that, and you said there's no increase in the rate of the real estate taxes and that, And then all of a sudden, the next day or two, the people get in the mail, their assessed value of their property has gone up. I had more calls concerning the tax rate because then the assessed value of their property is going up. It was timely that the assessed value got 2 days later because the budget's already set. That was very disappointing to these people and then they went to the Board of Review and everything else. There's nothing they can do about it, but it was very disappointing to say there's no tax increase, but don't forget the but. Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Alderpersons, before I make some comments? Anybody else? I would allow city staff to respond to any questions or concerns that were raised by council members, and then I would be glad to make some comments. So Tim, do you want to make any comments regarding the preparation of the budget or any information that's presented before I make my comments?
Just to speak to the assessed values and, the tax rate is, it's always difficult when you go through a budget in a revaluation year because normally in a revaluation, because you're at 90% of the estimated fair market value of the property. So when you go through reval, you're obviously increasing those assessments. But when you look at our levy, only went up $24,000, 0.2%. Now you're dividing that into a bigger assessed value that your rate drops. So even though that you may have gotten an assessment notice that your assessment's going up, that does not necessarily translate into a tax increase in the property taxes, because, most people are, they do an addition on the house and they get that notice of assessment. That is going to mean their taxes are going up. But it's also very confusing in a reval year because people's properties go up different percentages. And so it's really a redistribution of your tax base. So you will have some people that, based on the reval and what their property was previously assessed at, and what now the new assessment based on, the market value, that some could go up, some may stay the same, and some could go down based on that redistribution of the tax base.
And I would reiterate, I request the tax assessor to get you some information regarding the revaluation. I've been provided with a bunch of information that covers the gamut, and I think maybe it would be helpful to get you something to help you understand some of the pieces from his perspective to explain it. Beth, did you want to speak to anything regarding comments from the chair of the HR committee? Okay. In terms of wages or anything? Okay. Very good. Just want to make sure before I make comments. Thank you. So I think the piece on the assessment, the average assessment went up about $6,000. So if your home was previously assessed at $100,000 and now is assessed at $106,000, you will probably not have any sort of change in terms of your tax bill, right? Because you went up the average, the 6%. If you went down in your assessment, you may have a tax decrease, right? And because of the different taxing entities, when the budget was released and published in the newspaper in terms of the levy and our expected tax rate, yes, our city tax rate, and I think that bears repeating. I know Andrew Kirkpatrick's been good about reiterating that at finance meetings, that there's all these other taxing entities. And I think as much as you can remind any callers you might get or people you encounter regarding tax rate, if you look at, I think I'm not sure which page it is in your packet, I've got it pulled out, but when you look at tax rates across the board for 2014, the state had a reduction of its tax rate of about 7.7%, the county about 7.7%, Wisconsin Rapids Public Schools 3.3% decrease, Midstate about an 8% decrease, and then the city of Wisconsin Rapids about a 5.8% decrease in its tax rate. So when you have a reevaluation year, as Tim was explaining, if your assessment changes, your tax bill may change. So when you look at the total tax levy by all those same taxing jurisdictions, the state had about a 1.9% reduction in the total tax levy piece that we're experiencing. The county about a 2% reduction, the school district about a 2.8% increase, and then the mid-state 2.4% decrease, and the city of Wisconsin Rapids levy about 0.1% decrease. So when you take all these factors into account, assessment, levy, and rate, the picture can look different across the board. So I think I'll have the assessor prepare something for all of you if you haven't gotten an update on the revaluation. It was just, I mean, in the heels of the preparation of the budget and to Alderperson Hokamp's concern of when those notices were mailed out, the tax roll from the assessment notice. You know, maybe if he had a better handle on when that was going to be completed by the contractor that they used, maybe I can speak to the timing of it in terms of that issue. So that's the rate, the assessment, and then the levy question. You know, obviously, with levy limits imposed on us by the state, we don't really have much room to move, and so you'll see only a $20,000 increase in our allowable levy, and that was based on net new construction. So we're increasing what we can in terms of that. So I think that speaks to the assessment rate and the levy questions. Hopefully, if there's any further questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Or if you have information or callers you want me to respond to, I'd be glad to do that as well. I think the next question I can address, and that is surrounding initiatives. All of you in your budget transmission received a transmittal document, which gave high-level details about some initiatives that we were budgeting for. I can say that the budget this year took much more time because with changes to the budget requires much more work on the department head level, as well as myself to go through and look at that information, especially those that have moved in activity-based budgeting. So I appreciate the comments about the improvement of detail in terms of what certain budgets are performing or are expected to perform next year. So in terms of initiatives, the budget was first introduced, I sent a memorandum in October 29th to the HR committee, at which the 2014 budget had only been presented 2 weeks prior. So in the beginning of October, that budget was first made available to the HR committee, to the Finance and Property Committee for their consideration, and to the rest of the council. So that was the timing of all of this. I don't know in terms of between now and the end of October and today, what items the HR committee took up for consideration in that period of time. I know there were some and they were held over and such, but the first item, which was the recommendation for a full-time ordinance control officer, and that previously was 3 part-time individual positions combined into one. Number one, consistency. We don't have a revolving door in that department with those ordinance control officers, and that's the whole reason behind a full-time position. So how that committee handles that request and deals with it, that's really why that position comes forth. The second hire or initiative was around the staff accountant position. Presently, we're anticipating transition in the finance departments in the coming years, and at present, our financial software is extremely outdated. And without an individual that can help us migrate our payroll system from what it is today to where it'll be on a new financial system and with some redundancy in that department, when those individuals depart, that position is a critical position to plan for. The third item was a GIS specialist. Originally, it was budgeted last year as a commingled position within the engineering department. For a number of reasons, after talking with Water and Light and others, we decided that we weren't going to fill it in that kind of hybrid position, that there was more to be done than simply what a half-time person could do in that role. So we budgeted for a full-time position and chose not to fill that this last year based on that information. And 1/3 of the position, as I understand, will be contributed from Waterworks and Lighting for this next year, subject to change in subsequent budget years. So that's the third initiative. The big thing on the GIS specialist, I think that gets lost, is the county's had a GIS specialist for 7 years, and we haven't taken any time to get our infrastructure assets mapped on our own for future planning purposes, whether it's capital improvements or emergency response. So we really have work to do in that area, and by having a full-time person, that will definitely put us on a track to getting that information. The fourth item is a community development specialist, which this position, as I understand, has not been taken up by the HR committee as well. But that position is ultimately charged with a couple of things. First is developing a much more updated public park plan. The public park and the public spaces plan we have is incredibly outdated in terms of what it has approved in it for approaches for us. The big thing is our comprehensive plan, and that comprehensive plan is full of errors and was kind of a quick passage when it was originally passed. And so we're continuously dealing with issues on the Planning Commission level, and frankly, developers, because the comprehensive plan is inaccurate. So having somebody in-house that will be able to take a proactive approach to dealing and engaging with the public for park planning purposes, but also dealing with the comprehensive plan issues is also critical. And then the final piece is the Director of Innovation and Technology. And this position has been discussed in many capacities. There's a number of reasons why it's proposed in this budget. Number one, and the Alderperson Kirkpatrick alluded to it, is just the modernization of our processes. We haven't had somebody internally in the past that's really focused on implementing those. We've got somebody that's great at help desk and puts out fires all day long in all the IT areas of the organization. But we rely very heavily on Waterworks and Lighting for management and projects. And that person really's core focus is Waterworks and Lighting, rightfully so. That's who pays their wage. But ultimately, here at City Hall, we've got a number of things that we've kind of gotten behind the 8 ball on, and truthfully, behind the times. So that's why that position is being supported and will be introduced to the HR committee, I understand, at a meeting in early December. So those are the hires. I'd entertain any further questions regarding the hires or any feedback throughout the budget based on my comments. Okay, seeing none, I guess we will close the public hearing. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is item number 8, is the report of the November 18 meeting of the Finance and Property Committee pertaining to the following items. Which was the, let's see here, the Waterworks and Lighting Commission budget, the tax levy, the 2014 city budget, and we've got the resolution, right? Or the report is here. So Alderperson Young, do you want to
Sure.
read that report?
The Finance and Property Committee met this evening at 5 p.m. in the first floor conference room at City Hall. Chad Whirl, member of the committee, was not present. He was excused. And then a list of others in attendance is on file with the clerk. Item 2 is the Waterworks and Lighting Commission 2014 budget. It was moved and seconded to approve that budget, and that passed. Item 3 was the resolution adopting the tax levy and the 2014 budget. The resolution is in the minutes. It was moved and seconded to approve that resolution, and that motion passed. Item 4, it was moved and seconded to adjourn. The meeting adjourned at 5:14 p.m. And I would move for the approval of these minutes and the budgets.
Looks like we've got a motion and a second. Further discussion? We've got representatives from the Waterworks and Lighting Commission here this evening, which obviously we held their budget piece, the last piece at the meeting before
Could I
this.
just make one comment
Sure.
about that?
Please.
I really appreciate the representatives here this evening from Water and Light. We had some disagreements, and it was wonderful that they were able to reconvene and make some concessions so that we could be here this evening on even footing. In the future, I would really encourage our engineering department and Water and Light to get together earlier in the process, so at the last minute, we don't have the inconsistencies that we had this year. But again, I thank you all for being here.
Thank you. And I would say, echo the comments in the respect that when I first was asked about kind of the conversations that we've had regarding the two budgets, you know, this is finally a budget where, in all the collaboration we do, we're not only speaking collaboratively, but we're acting collaboratively through the form of the budget. So I can appreciate the work that's been done at the commission, as well as all those involved with the meetings, finance director, general manager, and the commission itself, that we're now looking forward as a community and how we can collaborate and partner around the same goals. So thank you for that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to approve. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 4 ayes and 2 nays.
Okay, item number 9, the report of the Planning Commission held November 4th. The Planning Commission met at 4 p.m. on November 4th in the first floor conference room of City Hall. All members were present except Tom Rayom. Also present was Adam Tagan. A list of others present is on file in the clerk's office. There was approval of the report from the September 9th Commission meeting, which was motioned and seconded and approved. Plan item number 3, which was Plan 130710, requester Sean and Sonia Lewis. The applicants were requesting a sign exemption to allow a total of 196 square feet of freestanding signage within the B2 General Commercial District. The subject property is located at 2240 A Street South within the city of Wisconsin Rapids. The requester was present, and they were requesting a sign exception to allow the expansion of an existing freestanding sign on the subject property. The property is located at 2240 A Street South within the city of Wisconsin Rapids. After discussion, there was a motion and a second to approve a sign exemption to allow a total of 196 square feet of freestanding signage within the B2 General Commercial District, and that motion was carried, and the meeting adjourned. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding that report?
I'd make a motion to approve.
A motion, is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried. 6 ayes and 0 nays.
Item number 10, item A, is hold a scheduled public hearing on the vacation of Robinson Street. See attachment number 1. That should be attached in your packets this evening. With that, I will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the body regarding this request? And for further information, it's a request by Timothy Reed and Jonna McCracken, 1721 Robinson Street, Wisconsin Rapids, to vacate a portion of the street right-of-way lying between 17th Avenue North and the Fox Valley Limited Railroad on the westerly side of Robinson Street. Any discussion? Third and final time, any discussion? I'll close the public hearing. Move into item number B, or letter B, which is number 10, letter B, is a resolution providing for the vacation of Robinson Street. That's attachment number 2. We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Shane wants you to push your button.
There you go.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried. 6 ayes and 0 nays.
Item number 11 is the Standing Council Committee reports. Item A is the Finance and Property Committee meetings held the October 17th, the 30th, and the 5th.
Thank you very much. So I do have 3 reports remaining yet. The Finance and Property Committee met at 5 p.m. on Thursday, October 17th in the first floor conference room. All members were present, as well as Finance Director Tim DeSorsi. Item 2 is the 2014 executive budget. The committee discussed the proposed budget. No action was taken. Item 3, it was moved and seconded to adjourn. The meeting adjourned at 5:43 p.m. Report number 2, the Finance and Property Committee met at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, October 30th in the first floor conference room. All members were present. A list of others in attendance is on file in the clerk's office. Item 2, the 2014 Waterworks and Lighting Commission budget. This item was held over and no action was taken. Item 3, the 2014 executive budget. The committee discussed the budget. No action was taken. It was moved and seconded and passed to adjourn. The meeting adjourned at 5:50 p.m. Report number 3, the Finance and Property Committee met at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, November 5th in the first floor conference room at City Hall. All members were present. A list of others in attendance is on file. Item 2, special beer license applications, if any, and there were none. Item 3, Class A or B liquor and/or beer license applications, and again, there were none. Item 4, a request from Dave Laspa to approve the low qualified bids for West Side Assessor's Plat number 26 for the area bounded by the west right-of-way of 10th Avenue North, the north right-of-way of High Street, the east right-of-way of 8th Avenue North, and the south right-of-way of Fremont Street. It was moved and seconded to accept the low bidder of Badgerland Survey for $9,540. That motion carried, and it is in your packets as attachment 1. Item 5, consider a recommendation from Statewide Services to deny a claim from the individual listed for damage to the basement of her residence resulting from a sewer backup. It was moved and seconded to deny that claim, and the motion carried. Item 6, you'll see listed new beverage operator licenses or applications. That's A. Was moved and seconded to approve those applications, and that carried. B is renewals. There was one renewal, and it was moved and seconded to approve. Motion carried. Item C, applications recommended denied. There were no applications recommended denied. Item 7 is the 2014 Water Works and Lighting Commission budget. Again, this item was held over and no action was taken. Item 8, 2014 executive budget. Again, we discussed the budget changes and no action was taken. Item 9, audit of the bills. It was moved and seconded and approved to pay vouchers 52727 through 53064. Motion carried. Item 10 is the referral list. There were no outstanding referrals. And item 11, it was moved, seconded, and carried to adjourn. The meeting adjourned at 5:25 p.m. So with that, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion, is there, and a second? Any further discussion on those reports? Seeing none, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried. 6 ayes and 0 nays.
Item B is a Public Works Committee meeting held November 5th. Alderperson Rayom.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Public Works Committee met at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, November 5th, 2013, in the first floor conference room in City Hall. All members were present. Also attending were Dave Lasp and Joe Eichstead. A list of others present is on file in the clerk's office. Item 1 was to call the meeting to order. Item 2, review and recommend approval of the bids for the 2014 crushing contract. The low qualified bid in the amount of $118,160 was received from Earth Incorporated of Arpin, Wisconsin. That bid summary is attached in your minutes. There was motion and second to recommend approval of the low qualified bid in the amount of $118,160, which was received from Earth Incorporated of Arpin, Wisconsin. Item 3 is request of Kurt Subert of Integrity Grading and Excavating Incorporated, 605 Grossman Drive of Schofield, Wisconsin, for a variance on noise ordinance to work on First Street North, on the First Street North reconstruction project before 7 a.m. and later than 7 p.m. There was motion and second to recommend approval of a variance on the noise ordinance to work on the First Street North reconstruction project to not before 6:30 a.m. and not later than 9 p.m., and that motion carried. Item 4 is request from the Village of Buren to obtain approval from the City of Wisconsin Rapids to install a force main sanitary sewer in the 48th Street right-of-way from the Canadian National Railroad south to Commerce Drive and on Commerce Drive from 48th Street north to 44th Street north. John Evenson, the president of the Village of Buren, and Larry Koopman of Lampert, Lee and Associates, engineers and surveyors, were present for this item. The Village of Buren is constructing an industrial park on State Highway 54 and needs to connect into the city's sanitary sewer system. City staff has determined that the Buren's connection should be with a sanitary sewer force main at 44th Street North and Commerce Drive. There was motion and second to allow the Village of Buren to install a force main sanitary sewer in the 48th Street right-of-way from the Canadian National Railroad south to Commerce Drive and on Commerce Drive from 48th Street North to 44th Street North. That motion carried. Item 5, a request to extend the present recycling agreement with Advanced Disposal for an additional 6 months past 12/31 of 13 on a month-to-month basis. John Lee, representing Advanced Disposal, was present for this item. Advanced Disposal is okay with this extension of the agreement, but wants to be involved in the discussions to any changes to the recycling collections procedure. There was a motion and second to recommend the extension to the present recycling agreement with Advanced Disposal for an additional 6 months past 12/31 2013, on a month-to-month basis, and that motion carried. Item 6 was to amend the school zones due to signing plan updates at the following locations. A, Prospect Street from 8th becomes 8th Street North to 200 feet east of 11th Street North. And B, Oak Street from 6th Street, it was 7th Street, 6th Street to 200 feet east of 11th Street. There was a motion, a second, to approve amending the school zones. The motion carried. That ordinance is attached in the minutes. Item 7, review the school zones and crossings due to signing plan updates at the following locations. A, Baker Street from 100 feet west of 8th Street North to 100 feet east of 8th Street North. B, East Grand Avenue from 100 feet west of 11th Street to 100 feet east of 11th Street. And C, 8th Street North from 100 feet north of Baker Street to Baker Street. There was a motion, a second, to approve removing the school zones. That motion carried, and the ordinance is attached with the minutes. Item 8, review the proposed 2014 Public Works construction budget. The committee reviewed the proposed 2014 construction budget. 9, review the proposed 2013 Public Works project schedule. The committee reviewed the proposed 2013 Public Works project schedule. Item 10 was to review the referral list, and item number 10 of 2013 could be removed from that list. Item 11 was to adjourn the motion. There was a motion, a second, to adjourn, and the motion carried. The meeting adjourned at 7:11 p.m., and I move for adoption of the report.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the Public Works Committee report? Seeing none, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried. 6 ayes and 0 nays.
Item C is the Human Resources Committee meeting held November 6. Alderperson Nash.
Human Resources Committee met at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, November 5th, 2013. Item 1 was called to order. The meeting was called to order at 4 p.m. Item 2, consider a request from the police chief to approve the creation of a lieutenant position in the Detective Bureau. The motion was made and seconded to approve the request. The motion carried. That's attachment number 1. Item 3, reconsider and discuss a request to hire a GIS specialist referred back to the HR committee from the council meeting on 8/20/2013. Motion was made and seconded to approve the request contingent upon approval of funding by the finance committee. The motion carried. Item 4, discuss the creation of and possible approval to fill a staff accountant position. Motion was made and seconded to hold the item over as requested by the finance director. Item 5, discuss changing 3 part-time ordinance control officer positions to 1 full-time position. A motion was made and seconded to hold this item over for further discussion. Item 6, establish elected officials' pay for terms commencing in 2014. A motion was made and seconded to increase the mayor's position pay from $60,029 to $62,500 and approve the attached salaries. Motion carried. The attached salaries are attachment number 2. Item 7, update the committee on employee personal time usage per personal time policy. The committee reviewed personal time usage. No action was taken. That was informational. Item B, and a motion was made and seconded to go into closed session. A roll call was taken. Motion passed unanimously. The committee discussed bargaining strategy, and a motion was made and seconded to return to open session. The motion carried, and no action was taken. Item 9, adjourn. The meeting adjourned at 5:15. I move for approval of this report.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll move into discussion. Once Shane's computer gets caught up here. There we go. We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Alderperson Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. A question regarding item number 6. If we go and look at attachment number 2, it says the above salaries may increase per the same general cost of living increase provided to the non-union group if one is provided during the term per council action on 12/18/12. So when it says the above, it says mayor, city attorney, city clerk, and city treasurer. The only one that had action taken on it was the mayor's position. Can you speak to, and I may have follow-up question too. Can you speak to that, Bob?
Well, I'll let the HR director.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the mayor's position is the only one we increased above the 2%.
Actually, the rates that are listed there, other than the mayor's salary, are the same rates that are in place right now.
Oh.
However, they're subject to increase if there's any general cost of living increase given to the non-union employees. So the mayor's, that new salary, $2,400 is what we increased the mayor's salary. That would also increase by a general wage increase.
Yeah, any wage increase.
Yeah.
So then, let's just say, when would that proposed or possible wage increase to the when would that take place?
I would guess probably after negotiations.
Okay, so
Would
I'm just
the
gonna
HR
throw,
committee
I'm just gonna throw out
consider-
February, I don't know why, but just for the heck of it, I guess. So in February, it's possible that city attorney, city clerk, city treasurer could see a wage increase as well. And then at that time, the mayor would not be eligible for a wage increase, or would also get a secondary wage increase?
You would get a secondary wage increase.
So then,
If it was 1%, it would increase by 1% January 1.
and then what's the rationale or the reasoning for doing 2 wage increases in less than 6 months' time?
No. The discussion was to whether to raise the mayor's, well, that's where we went. We started at the, let me get back here. Officials pay for the terms commencing 2014.
Right.
The discussion was on the mayor's pay, which was 60,000, whatever, and
Sure.
figures were thrown out and whatever, and as the human resources director said, these other wages, the city attorney, city clerk, city treasurer, that's their pay right now. We didn't look to increase those,
Right.
just the mayor's. So we increased the mayor's to the 62, that's why you see the 62,500. But these other ones, as it says below, which we voted on last year
Yep.
in
Yep.
December, would get a 0.5%, 1%, 2%, 10% increase, whatever the non-union would get. And so, yes, obviously, we're just lumping that in with the mayor's.
So then where do we come up to the position of increasing the mayor's wage from the 60 to the 62?
Well, Mr. Whirl isn't here tonight, and he was,
Yeah, I mean,
Spoke the
if
most
we
about
looked
it,
at the
so.
comps.
Yeah.
In terms of where our mayor's salary was in comparison with other similar communities.
Okay.
For example, Points Mayor is close to 70,000. So that's why we recommended an increase.
Okay. It just I don't know, I guess to me it just seems like it's a pay increase and then there's a potential here in a couple months of another pay increase, whereas
Correct.
the rest of these get one pay increase. So it just seems,
Because
Very
they were, I mean, we looked at all of their salaries and compared them, and they're within the market.
so it's a raise on commensurate or on the comparable, I guess is a word that I want.
Somewhat, yeah.
but any raise that we do, we have to do it, we can't raise it in their term, right? I mean, there's a certain time
The
that we.
policy basically says that it can be done effective January 1, or whenever that non-union increase, if there is one, would be effective. So that's why it basically states in the,
No, I'm saying the city attorney, city clerk, city treasurer, and the mayor, we have to do that at a certain time if we want to increase.
this is
their
what we're doing right now.
Right, exactly.
And then it
Right.
indicates in there that they.
I understand it
subject
too. I understand the
Okay.
other percent, but I'm saying we can't 6 months from now increase their salary after April.
Correct.
Oh, no, okay. It does. It just, if you read through it the first time here, it just looks like it seems like an arbitrary out of the blue increase, and then all of a sudden, 4 months down the line or 5 months down the line, you get another pay increase. It just seems kind of like a double, pay increase, whereas everybody else gets, one on the year kind of thing. It just seems like it just seems very strange to me.
Just for the mayor's salary and based
Right.
on the comps.
Right, and the discussion was that at the committee was that the mayor's salary basically is low.
Okay.
And so that's why we increase
Okay,
the mayor's and not anybody else.
fair enough. Thank you.
Further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll move into a vote. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried. 6 ayes and 0 nays.
Next item on the agenda is item 12, miscellaneous reports. Item A, the Southwood County Airport Commission meeting held October 11th and November 8th. The Housing Authority Resident Advisory Board held February 12th and October 8th. Item C, the Housing Authority regular meeting held September 25th. Item D, the City Treasurer's Report on Investment for September and October. Item E, the Police and Fire Commission meeting held October 9th and November 6th. Item F, Waterworks and Lighting Commission held October 9th. The regular meeting, October 9th, Building and Grounds Committee, and October 16th, their special meeting. Item G, the Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department and EMS monthly organizational, EMS response, monthly organizational summary for October. Item H, the Wisconsin Rapids Police Department report for October. Item I, the Wastewater Treatment Commission held November 6th. And item J, the Treasurer's monthly report for October. And I'd entertain any discussion on those items or a motion. We have a motion. Is there a second? Yes, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots.
I had my,
Oh, I'm sorry. Alderperson Ocamp.
thank you,
See it
Mayor.
lit up.
I have two questions here. One is just kind of for the police department. You have a total of service calls for 2115. I kind of went through this and I thought, it doesn't look like that much. And I added them up and I get to 1431. What is the other 700?
I'll have to take a look at that for you, Marion. I'm not sure. I'll go back through and check Lieutenant Kraskowski's math.
Okay, thank you.
I'm hoping he's watching. He
I
can
just-
start looking at it right now.
Yeah, I just looked at it and I thought, oh, that doesn't add up to that.
I'll take a look at that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
And then on the Park and Rec, I see they don't have a report in this month. I'm very disappointed in the Park and Rec. There's so many things that they should be doing that they haven't done for a while. They don't visit the parks and that park that's up by the cemetery, I don't think it's ever used, but I don't think it's ever been visited either. But then, now, they just got another check for the hotel motel tax. You'd think they'd be meeting to discuss what they're going to do with that money. Years ago, we worked on the hotel motel tax money. It took us 3 years, the hotel motel tax money, just to sandblast and paint the stadium at the Witter Field. We worked how many years working with the hotel motel tax money to increase our parks and that and make them presentable. Look what we got now at the Witter Field. But I just think that the Park and Rec should be meeting monthly and go through everything that they should be doing and not just say that there's nothing on our agenda, so we won't meet this month. There should be something on the agenda for them to meet with. I was very disappointed that they didn't meet again. Thank you.
Thanks for the comments. I think you and I did meet, thankfully, in the last month to discuss this issue, and I think it speaks to the need to have a comprehensive park plan that's relevant in 2013, 2014 time. So I appreciate the comments and your feedback on that. Any other discussion? See none, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried. 6 ayes and 0 nays.
Item 13 is items for new business at the December 17th council meeting. We've got item A is the appointment of 2 citizen members and 1 city employee member to the Ethics Board, and item B is appointments to the Election Board. Item 14, referral of communications to committees. Is there anything? Alderperson Kirkpatrick?
Thank you. This, can I actually make a referral to you, I guess? I think many people see the different places that you go through your Facebook page, the different things that you do. And we see about them, you know, those of us sitting up here, we see about them, we hear about them. but I don't think we have a good handle on what was done, what was accomplished. We see in finance, we see the vouchers come through the, expense reimbursements through the expense account, which is valid. But we don't have a report that says, from your office saying, I went here, and this is why I went there, this is what I did. This is, most importantly to me, this is why it benefits the city, this is why it benefits the taxpayers, and this is why it should be continued to be paid. This is why I should continue to go to this, or this is why I should consider this, not go to this and go to something else in lieu of that. I think that for the sake of transparency and for the sake of all of us, not just sitting here, but for the citizenry in general, that when you do go to one of these conferences or one of these things and the city foots the bill on it, that it's should be incumbent upon you to write up a report and bring that back at this time in our meeting and say, this is where I went last month for 2 days. I was here and I did this, and I'm not going to do this again.
Sure.
Or I'm going to go back there again because I made some really strong contacts and we have a prospect of a new business coming here. So I think for us, it would be helpful to know. It's going to get us a little bit more insight as to what's going on through your office.
Sure.
For the citizens, it's going to show them that their dollars are being spent in a manner to promote their community. And then for us in finance, it's going to show us that we're continuing to pay certain bills that should be paid. So
And I think that was brought out in the most recent finance meeting. I don't know if you
I
were
was
there.
going to
Andrew.
say, you might
Jean-
not have been at the meeting, and I expressed the exact same thing. I know
Okay.
that in my world, when we pay to have somebody go to a conference, et cetera, the expectation is that that employee comes back and says, here's what I learned, here's how it benefited our division, here's how I plan to use the information. And the mayor was, in fact, you used the same word that the mayor used when I brought that up, which was transparency. And my understanding from our conversation is that the mayor was happy to do that, and in fact did say, for the sake of transparency, that would be.
And I think for
Good.
starters, one thing that wasn't done in the previous year for the upcoming 2014 is on page 51 of the individual departmental budgets. We provided in advance for this next year what is on the horizon. So there is no question, granted, we haven't seen agendas and what sort of
Right.
conference topics may exist, but in terms of deriving those numbers from an activity standpoint, we figured get it out right in the budget, and accompany the budget document. So, but I can certainly provide something for you, and Gene, and I think we were understood on the last finance meeting on that, but I think that was the one that you may not have made, so.
Okay,
it
sure.
was
Yeah,
discussed.
like
Thank
I
you.
say, just something to come forward and have it presented, not just to the committees, but, certainly on this floor at
Sure.
this
Wait,
venue.
So on a miscellaneous report kind of format.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. Thank
Fair
you.
enough? Mm-hmm. Any other referrals? Alderperson Mario.
Thanks, Your Honor. I hope we just, though, take a good hard look at that, is that we don't get into the micromanaging of what the mayor is elected for every 2 years. If we like what he does or dislike what he does, we can raise the issue. I really don't know that we need a report of everything that he attends because he attended. I think we can ask him, or he can say if he wants to. But I don't think that it should be necessary that he has to do that. I think, and I don't get to see it too often, working days, but you're on cable access on a regular basis, and others are to, keep people in the community up to speed, I think. I just, I don't want us to become like the House of Representatives and everybody wants to give an hour speech on something. He may go to something that, and we may not disapprove of that he went or whatever, but we may then get into the debating of what took place when we haven't even, that you just got thoughts on maybe what you want to do and we haven't got anywhere, or you haven't brought it forward or anything, so.
That's a concern that I have too, ultimately.
I think that it's, you or future mayors to, I think, use their good judgment in what they feel is an appropriate time and whatever to bring things back, and there may be something to bring us up to speed that you attended a week or two ago. I don't want to get into, and I mentioned before, is that we are micromanaging of what the mayor is doing. I guess if we don't like that, we just, I guess, monetarily, we change what takes place, so.
And I would even take it a step further. A comment I made to the HR director before tonight's council meeting was, I have attended a number of events throughout the state and outside the state that council members are present at. And that's the one thing about this community, is I haven't brought a single council member along to any of these events. So it's a challenge to all of you to coordinate our calendars and hopefully join me, whether it's a state league event in Madison or in Green Bay, it just was 2 weeks ago, to be able to maybe partake in something where there's an agenda item that's relevant and pertinent. That's the one thing that stuck out. Almost every single one of these events, you've got a mayor and a council member or two that joins along with. So I would, issue that challenge and request, really, to join me on something that would be coming in the future. So that would be the only response that I have, maybe to balance, who wants to be more interested and who doesn't want to be more interested in what's happening. Thank you. Any further referral of communication? Alderperson Hokamp.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I have one more thing to discuss tonight. I see that the containers for the flowers have been taken back and put in the garage, I would imagine someplace, Jim. If those containers would have been put out where they would add beauty to the city instead of on commercial property, people didn't think they were city containers. They thought they were commercial containers. And now they've been put back in the garage again. They should have been put out. Now it's Christmas and decorations for Christmas. They could have been put on, say, a couple down at the roundabout. There's a place on the expressway where we can't have trees because they knock them down all the time. We don't have anything on that medium there. Put a couple on there. And now these here containers that you got out here for litter and that, I don't know how many times you have to empty those. This time of the year would be nice. They're just small enough to put a Christmas tree in, and those are in the commercial property. Those would be nice to I can't see decorating these containers in commercial property. I hope next year when you bring them out, you put them someplace in commercial where people can see them. You go in any other town or city, and they have little brown kettles or something, but they're always decorated year-round, where we take ours in and store them for the winter months and bring them out for about 3 months of the year. I can't see that. I would like to see them used as decorations for the city year-round. Thank you.
And Jim, maybe you can connect offline with Alderperson Hokamp on questions on that. Any further requests or referrals? I'm sorry. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? That passes. Thank you all for being here this evening and joining us via home or in the audience.